Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Danny Almaskanov and I'm here today with you on the Just Guns channel in the Moscow Firearms Museum. Today we're going to take a look at this abomination and explain why this is a very bad idea and why it is being used. And to be honest, the whole reason I'm making this video is the fact that in the description of my channel it says that I'm an OSINT guy, and there hasn't been a single video, I believe, that would go into details of something that is actually used in combat, except for probably the PLK pistol, which you should check out if you haven't seen it yet. The PLK is the new handgun used by the Russians, the Lebedev. But in any case, what this basically is an attempt to create something like an SPR. And from what I know, the concept of the SPR originates from the Mark 12 Special Purpose Receiver, I believe, and not the actual rifle. But later it basically evolves into the concept of the whole rifle as something built specifically to fulfill marksman or sniper style role. And obviously this is a very nice concept. This is something that was by no surprise loved by many people across the world and was even adopted in some specific cases, but not in case of Russia. The closest Russians ever got to the SPR is the 740 cartridge. As you can obviously tell from what I've just said, it is not a full weapon system, it is just the cartridge on its own, and that's it. And this cartridge is an improved accuracy one, but it is not a true weapon system. Possibly that's one of the reasons why the cartridge never became any popular, because why do you need just an improved accuracy cartridge that doesn't provide any benefit at all, and you don't have an improved accuracy firearm to use it with? But in any case, that is basically a dead end. But then what happens is that Russia gets into a massive war, the war in Ukraine, and this means that snipers actually need a firearm to use, and the number of these snipers increases, the number of units that may require snipers to support them increases, and so on. And obviously everyone has his own idea of what his perfect sniper should be, or what his perfect marksman should be, doesn't matter much. And in the end we end up with things like this. How come? Well, there are two main types of SPRs that are being used by the Russians. First type is a very nice thing, I believe. I will show you a picture of it, probably. And this is a special purpose rifle used by the sniper of one of the Russian VDV sniper teams, a very competent one, very well-informed one, and the whole idea of their SPR is basically a PDW for the snipers. You may say that this sounds like a very strange idea, but this may be actually explained by the way these snipers are actually implemented in combat. You see, it was found out that in this conflict in Ukraine, due to the drones, artillery and everything else, it is way too dangerous to implement snipers in small, like two-man teams, because say if one sniper gets injured, the other one just can't evacuate him. He's dead, and that's it. If both are injured, it's even worse than that. Therefore, it was actually found out that using basically sniper squads is much more effective than the other concept. And if you have a whole squad of snipers, each of them armed with a proper sniper weapon, they really do become an easy target for the enemy infantry, because if something goes wrong and they end up in close combative environment, basically they are dead. That's it. So they do need something that would provide them a full automatic capability to fight off anyone if needed, and provide some actual sniper or DMR capabilities as well. So basically it is a sniperized AK. It is still an automatic rifle in the first place, or should I better say assault rifle in the first place. But on the other hand, we have these true sniper rifles, which are sometimes nice, but more often not. I'm not exactly sure where did this museum get this one from, but from what I know, it was set up by some Russian veteran. What this started as was the RPK-74M. And the RPK-74M is an excellent weapon. Even if we don't make an argument about whether an automatic rifle is better or worse than a belt-fed machine gun, a light machine gun, you can obviously tell that an automatic rifle is a very capable weapon system, even if we don't slap an optic onto it. But if we do, it becomes even deadlier. If you don't think so, you should just set up a couple automatic riflemen with full automatic rifles and see them implement the talking machine guns technique, and you will see how deadly it is on the targets. But in any case, what we can do by trying to implement an SPR using an RPK is a much worse weapon system that we had at the beginning. And by worse, I mean worse than an actual sniper rifle or an actual DMR, such as the SVD, worse than a sniper's personal defense weapon, like a sniperized AK, and, most importantly, a worse version of the RPK-74M. Let's go through it. Starting from the muzzle device. The muzzle device we can find here is some sort of a copy of the Lantec muzzle device, which is a muzzle brake, which is already a weird choice of muzzle device for something that is mostly supposed to be used in semi-auto, but whatever. This doesn't matter much considering the fact that this thing is supposed to host a suppressor over it. At least I hope it does. If it doesn't, that's way too bad for this build. But what I personally hate about it is two things. First of those is the fact that the RPK was never built to fit an interference fit onto it, meaning that this thing is either not torqued properly or it is going to become loose eventually from the shooting. Especially considering the fact that I can obviously see that this thing does not come to the end of the threading, and the only way I could imagine an interference thing in this case is going through the whole threading on the end of the barrel to possibly lock onto the not threaded part of it. I'm not sure exactly, but considering the fact that this thing is positioned properly, meaning that the upside of it is facing upwards, I do believe that this thing is just inappropriately mounted. But what I hate about this thing for sure is the fact that this is awfully painted. I don't think that with this sort of paint anything can be mounted on top of it. And the paint job on this gun overall is horrific. We will see why I think of it this way later. Let's move to the second section of the barrel, and that's where your front sight post was supposed to be, and it was removed. I really don't know why it was though. Maybe the reason behind this was the fact that the rear sight post would interfere with the optics used, and this is a reasonable idea to remove the rear sight if that becomes a problem. However, why would you remove the front sight post is something very not obvious from me. The reason for that is the fact that it's really hard to detach the front sight post from the RPK-74M. The reason for that is the fact that in case of the AKs and the RPK-74Ms produced since the 1986, I believe, the front sight post is actually pressed into the barrel. It is not just pinned and that's it, it is pressed onto the barrel. Meaning that I'm highly suspicious that this guy had to damage his front sight post to detach it from the gun. I don't think that that's a good idea, because if for some reason you do find this special purpose rifle idea to go wrong, you can't really get back to the to your normal RPK-74M. Because even if you didn't damage the front sight post, you can't get it back onto the gun in the field, and you can't get your bipod back onto the gun which is also very important for the automatic rifle or a machine gun. And by the way, talking of the bipod, this thing lacks any bipod at all, which is also weird for me, but maybe the reasoning behind this was the fact that the shooter was supposed to be carrying a bag with him all the time. This does make sense, at least to an extent, but that still seems a little weird to me, especially if we take a closer look onto the handguard of the weapon. This handguard is a CGNL or ADAR handguard for the Saiga 12. In case you don't know what a Saiga 12 is, it is a semi-automatic shotgun. And the important difference between a semi-automatic shotgun and a potential SPR is the fact that the shotgun does not need a free-floated handguard, and therefore this weapon does not as well. This is important because there is a difference between a free-floated barrel and a free-floated shotgun. They serve different purposes. And the argument that because of the long-stroke gas piston you can't get a free-floated barrel does not work here. You need a free-floated handguard to prevent the point of impact shift from the pressure onto the weapon. This pressure is obviously going to be generated by the bag, the trench, or whatever you rest the rifle against. This is also becoming even more weird if you consider the fact that somebody took the original RPK-74M handguard and replaced one for another not free-floated one. Moving back from the handguard and considering the fact that we've already talked about the lack of the iron sights, we can mention the fact that there were no internal changes, and that's fine, no problem with that. And we can notice the fact that there was a magwell installed. I don't think that there is anything bad to say about it. I guess if one wants to, then why not? But what's inside the magwell is much worse than the magwell itself. This is a normal AK mag that was cut down to be less small. And by this small, I mean the fact that this thing only holds 6 rounds. I managed to get 7 inside, but I don't think that they will fit properly. At least the pressure on the 7th one was just immense. This is weird for multiple reasons. First of all, the way that this was actually done is very bad. The cuts on the magazine seem to be very crude, and even the bottom of the magazine can be attached properly, meaning that this was probably done without any calculations before doing so. And this is also indicated by the weird capacity of the magazine. 6 rounds. 6 or 7 rounds is something very unusual to see here. And this is all further exaggerated by the fact that the magazine is actually painted from the inside. And the inside of the barrel, of the magazine is sticky. It does not function properly. Let's move on. And we are going to the sighting solution. And the sighting solution on this thing is actually probably the thing that I like the most. And the reason behind that is the fact that with this complete misunderstanding of what this guy is going for, he actually left a way to convert his rifle from daytime use for the nighttime use. And this is because he is using a side mount. However, there are some issues with it as well. In theory, the side mount provides you with the capability to move back and forth between a daytime scope and a nighttime scope, such as a thermal, for example. But this only works as long as there is a special stopping point that strictly locks the side mount in one position only. But in case of this side mount used, there is no such stop point, and the scope just slides into whatever position it needs to. it doesn't need to move. I was joking, basically. And I'm going to ignore the scope because this seems to be some Chinese scope that doesn't matter as much. Obviously, if you want to go for a combat special purpose rifle, you want a quality scope, and I don't believe that this is much of a problem here because you can just buy a daddle or something and slap it onto the weapon, and that's it. Moving on to the other side of the gun, you can see the safety. The safety on this gun is not some sort of a proprietary safety procured from some custom company. This safety is just a normal RPK safety that was cut off and modified to host this little knob so that you could operate it. This is a bad idea because, first of all, it does not provide you with any benefit at all. This thing is not better than your normal safety in any way. I should probably say than your normal safety with a pedal, you know, the one that goes over here, but without cutting the front section of the safety off. This thing just allows for the dirt and all sorts of debris into the gun, and this thing rotates freely. I have no idea why was this thing ever used. I have no idea why would anyone create it. I have no idea what sort of a benefit this is supposed to introduce. It's just making the gun worse, and that's it. Really. Behind it, we can obviously find the pistol grip. This pistol grip is made by the Custom Arms company, and it is fine. There is nothing too special about it. So we can move on to the stock of the weapon. The cheek rest is not too bad of an idea, I believe. I believe that even if you are just using a normal RPK-74M, having a cheek rest may be a good idea, and there is nothing too wrong with that. So what's wrong with the stock is the fact that it is actually quite short for this configuration of the gun. If we're going for such a sighting solution, we're going to end up with the idle lift that makes us to position our head somewhere over here. Meaning that if we're going to go into the prone position, our head is definitely going to end up too close to the scope to use it. This could have been fixed in two ways, and considering the fact that in this particular case the mounting solution sucks, I do believe that the best way to go is probably to install some sort of a better mounting for the optic to get a better effective idle lift. But what could have been done originally is just a replacement of the stock with some sort of adjustable stock that would allow for more overall length. Even though we suppose that this thing was supposed to be used in a vertical position of the shooter in the first place, then it becomes unclear why would one go for such choice of the handguard, because this piece right here, the handrest, starts to interact with your hand in some uncomfortable ways. And if you pay close attention to the handrest, you can see that the paint on this thing starts to wear out from people trying to reach for it and hitting against it, which also tells something about the quality of the paint job here. And talking of the paint job, the inside of the weapon is painted as well. I did forget to mention that when I was talking about the insides of the gun, so please forgive me, but it doesn't make the situation any better. All of the things about this RPK tell me that the person doing this had no idea what they are doing, and unfortunately these things are actually being quite widespread in the military. This is further exaggerated by the fact that some popular bloggers such as Razvedos and other guys are making these things popular because they are advertising this as some sort of a very nice idea, but what you end up with is a less capable RPK that weighs as much or even more than an SVD, and that is not capable of providing the shooter with, or the sniper with, a proper self-defense weapon, because he can't even select the full auto properly. So now that we've gone through it, it should be obvious that this can't be used as a proper assault rifle or even a sniper's assault rifle, and this can't be implemented as an infantry automatic rifle, meaning that, in my opinion, this thing is absolutely useless. This might be a controversial take, and I would really like to see your opinion in the comments. Tell me if I'm wrong, tell me if I'm right, and I'll see you in the next video. That's all for today. Thanks.